And now on Who's Views, a Doctor Who fan joins JT for a little chit-chat.
Welcome back to another chit chat here on Who's Views. How are you? I hope you are doing well. And look who's joining me for this particular program. It is John Paul Barrett. Hello, sir.
Hello.
How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Yourself?
Good. I'm very well. It's good to see you. Thank you for coming on to chit chat. Thank you for coming and saying you can. I'd rather have a jelly baby. No, I'm kidding. So listen, is it John or is it John Paul?
Either, really. You can call me either. JP even. I mean, he's
JP, there we go. It's lovely to see you. Thanks for coming on. Well, listen, you know these shows, and you know the question I start off with. So let's get into this now. And how did you find the Doctor?
Oh, well, like most people, it goes back to the childhood, and basically the first Doctor for me was Jon Pertwee. I'm giving my age away a bit there when I say that.
Yes.
I used to sneak into the front room. My father would be watching. My dad liked Doctor Who, and I would just sneak in as a toddler at the age of 5 or something like that.
Yeah.
And I remember him watching an episode of the Sea Devils.
Wow.
And it was terrifying. It was terrifying. And he wasn't aware, I mean, it's a cliche where we've all heard that thing, watch him from behind the sofa, and it was like that. Only I was like coming into the front room lounge and just peeking through and watching it. I'm thinking, God, this is great, but at the same time, it's going to give me nightmares, that kind of thing. And so Jon Pertwee was my first experience of Doctor Who, and it was the Sea Devils. So
that caught you.
Yeah, that was my first experience.
I love all these memories when people come on to chit chat or they message me or what have you, and they've got their first memories of finding the Doctor. I love it because it's a magical time, isn't it? When you look back at it, we're very lucky.
Yeah. I mean, I talked to some people, and some people were into, all different kinds of things depending on their age. Some people liked, I don't know, Rent a Ghost, or people remember classics like The Goodies, things like that, Carry On films and whatever. But I just, that for me was the outstanding thing. That and I think about a year or two later, they showed one of the Peter Cushing films. I can't remember if it was Invasion Earth or if it was the Doctor Who and the Daleks original. So I remember watching that, and at the time we'd got our first colour TV.
Whoa!
And of course, when you look back at those two films, the Technicolor was so rich in those two films, and I remember, and that always stayed with me, because I'm quite a visual person, and that stayed with me, watching those two films. And of course, it was a bit confusing when you're so young, seeing, hang on a minute, there's this film Doctor Who, and then there's this Doctor Who on the TV, and they've got different interiors to the TARDIS and that kind of thing, And of course, when you're so young, you don't know, can't differentiate, But, that was an outstanding thing for me as well. I
remember that as well, John. I remember first seeing Doctor Who and the Daleks on the television, exactly the same as you think. Who's this bloke? And then being worried about, why does the TARDIS door go that way?
Yeah.
Why is it different in the inside? Why has it got a house?
Yeah, and of course in the TV series, from in the classic series, the TARDIS doors would open, and you wouldn't see the outside straight away. It'd be dark. Then they walk out from the interior point of view. but obviously in the film you do see the door, and then you see that, you know, it was quite unusual.
I think that's where they must have got, you know, when the
that.
reboot happened in 2005, you suddenly see all that, don't you? The door proceeds immediately onto the exterior. I think that's where they got it from. I remember reading somewhere years ago that they were inspired by the Peter Cushing films there, you know, to have the police box doors on in the console room, which I never really took, to be honest, but there you go.
Yeah, it's always been a kind of fascinating thing watching over the years. I mean, you watch the doctors change, regenerate, you watch the assistants, the doctor's assistants come and go. But one thing that really stands out is the interiors and how they've, you know, evolved or changed, adapted to change over the decades, you know. And obviously there's always a favorite one or two here and there, you know, which may not coincide with your favorite doctor, you know, but you like the interiors, you know. I think the one that stands out for me was the Tom Baker wooden interior, wood brass interior.
Oh yes, yeah.
Like a throwback to the Time Machine, Victorian.
Yeah, it was.
Style.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very brief. They didn't. I can't remember what episode you might remember that it, or what period it was in, but I think it was a fairly early period.
It was introduced with the Mask of Mandragora.
Right. Okay. And I think didn't the doctor say something about or there was a reference to that the other interior was being
redecorated.
Redecorated also. I don't know. Yeah.
I have this vision to this day, John, of little robots with paintbrushes that just come out of the TARDIS every now and then and redo everything. You know, redecorated. It's very charming, though. It's of its day. It's very charming, isn't it? It's wonderful.
Yeah.
And now
I really loved it because I thought obviously there was that classic film, The Time Machine, which was, you know, in keeping with the, you know, the William Hartnell, the granddad Victorian kind of look, you know, which kind of came back with the Eighth Doctor in the beginning, you know, with Paul McGann in the film. He had the same kind of attire, you know, but that really fitted well with that kind of interior, you know. And I know Tom Baker did have that kind of look when he took his scarf off, you know, and his scarf that was.
Oh, there you go. Look at that. That'll keep you warm.
There you go. We'll put that in. But no, talking to Tom Baker, I actually was fortunate to have met him back in, I can't remember if it was 75, 76. He came down to the East End of London to open up a toy shop.
Oh.
And what was odd was that when they arrived, they brought Bessie. Now, Bessie is associated more with John Pertwee, you know, but Bessie was there on show outside the toy shop, you know, police buildings and stuff. I remember going in, and I can't remember what Doctor Who. I guess it might have been the Dennis Fisher collection at the time. You know, the TARDIS with the dolls and stuff, which are worth an absolute fortune now, as you know.
Oh, I know. Tell me about it. I know.
I mean, you see the price of them on eBay, you know.
I know.
Leela was about £800, you know, or
is she? Gosh.
Yeah, boxed, you know.
Right.
It's one of the rarest ones is the Leela figure. The Cyberman, of course, there's various Daleks you can get, you know.
Well, there's one Dennis Fisher Dalek, and it's the I had a Cyberman from that range, but it fell to bits years ago for some bizarre reason. It fell to bits. Sadly, probably played with it too much, and so I needed Cyberman, and I need the Dennis Fisher Dalek. But it was a brilliant Dalek as well. I've seen it in a glass case. That's the only time I've ever seen it, and it had a red dome and blue sense spheres at the bottom. You know, the little balls, as we call them. Yeah, very elusive, shall we put? You know, it's such a shame that it's so much money now because people know. that it's worth money, so you charge the money. I saw one going for over £1,000.
I'm not surprised. I'm really not surprised.
No way you can.
You know what? It's everyone can tell that story that they had an item in this respect, Doctor Who, but they had and lost, or it just vanished. And you think back and go, oh, God, and it makes you cringe because you think, oh God, no, why didn't I keep that? Why didn't I take more care? But,
I know. Why did I let my mum throw it out?
Happens. Yeah, it's
That's lovely. Now, is that an official mug? I've not seen those before. Is that where it's from?
I think it's a snidey one off of eBay.
It's nicely done, though, isn't it?
It is very. I mean, they come in white as well, but I just think the
black one suits.
They set off better. You can get them in all the Doctors.
Do you collect the merchandise then, John?
I don't collect. I mean, I just got that one-off mug. That's a favourite image of mine.
The lovely poster from the Radio Times 10th anniversary cover. Lovely. Yes. Yeah, it's classic, isn't it? It's beautiful.
Sits on my wall, and of course you've got the matching blue.
TARDIS blue. Yeah. Oh, look at that. Oh, very good.
And of course, recently there was a company called Terraqueous.
Yes.
And they brought out a collection of their annuals, filling up.
That's right. The fan annuals,
which were never done. You know, so there was like a 72 one that wasn't done.
Lovely. Yeah.
And this one, I mean, my wife would kill me if she knew how much I spent on this, but I'd never seen. These are very rare. It's the master one.
Oh, right. Very good.
And so things like that, and obviously I've got all the Pertwee ones, all the Troughton ones and Hartnell ones, and I go all the way up to Peter Davison, and then I stop.
Right.
And then I stop because, when you get older, you're at school with your mates and you do other things and whatever, But then obviously as you get older, you play catch up, don't you? And you buy the odd bits. And I remember getting this particular one, which was a favourite of mine, and it was done by Marks and Spencer's.
Marks and Spencer's. It's a great book, that, isn't it? With some, you can tell by the cover, the illustrations are stunning.
Oh, they are. You have it, I guess.
Yes. Oh, yes.
St. Michael, it's got on the side.
St. Michael, as we used to call Marks and Spencer.
As we used to call it.
Do you know that book for me, John, is really special because it always reminds me of the original Marks and Spencer store in Liverpool where my book came from. Because I remember as a little boy, they had a whole, what we now call a dump bin, one of these cardboard things, and the book was in that. And strangely, it was at the start of the food section. Always reminds me of that huge store that used to be in Liverpool.
Imagine if you had those books on the beginning of the food section with Billy Babies next to it. Wouldn't it?
Well, it was very annoying for my mum at the time because, of course, I'd seen this book going into the food section and was going back to it all the time. And she was running around the food section going, where is he? Where is he? And she had to end up buying it me, I'm afraid, because I wasn't moving from those cabbages. It's a beautiful book, though, isn't it? What did you think of it? When did you get that?
I had this book originally some 40 odd years ago, and I think it went into a jumble sale somewhere or another.
No.
And then I managed to get it again a few years ago. Thank goodness, Yeah. But they're hard to track down, and people can ask what they like for them, and the other big thing I was really into is the Radio Times stuff,
Oh yes, of course.
Like that one, and then of course this is my favourite one, of course.
Now, is that an original or the reprint?
These are originals. Yeah.
Oh, yours is in great condition.
Now,
that's gorgeous.
Now these are originals.
Oh yes.
That was for the Five Doctors.
Yes, back in November 1983. Radio Times. Yeah.
And these ones are particularly special.
Oh, they're lovely. Look at that.
Yeah,
So let me have a look at that cover again. Yeah, lovely. Look at that. A classic shot. Was that 1970? What's the date on that one?
the actual date on this one is January 1970.
I thought so. So that's the one for Spearhead, the launch of Spearhead and his new Doctor, right? Lovely.
That one.
Brilliant artwork, isn't it? It's absolutely gorgeous. Look at that. You don't get them like that anymore.
This one's got East Anglia on it.
Oh.
1st of the 7th of January 72. Price is 5p.
Have you seen how much it is these days? Goodness me.
And I like this one with Roger Delgado.
Oh, classic. They were just so creative back then, weren't they, when they did all these covers for things like
the layouts were impressive. I mean, look, even in little details there, they put little the effort that's gone in, a cartoon and stuff. And there's a little bit of that going on inside as well. And of course, there's that one.
Oh, the classic. Yeah, beautiful one. That's gorgeous for the Three Doctors.
And and some of these Radio Times nowadays, they go for, £400, £500, £600 each on eBay.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't part with them for the because it's not about money, of course. It's about the sentimentality, sentimental value. And it's some interesting ones at the moment on Etsy, if anyone's interested. These are being made in California, and they've brought 2 sets out. They've brought playing cards out, and they've also brought tarot card style cards.
Tarot cards.
Look at the designs in those.
Oh yeah. Is it art? It's art, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Not photographs manipulated, isn't it? Oh yeah. Look at that.
They're really beautifully made.
They're lovely. I love the colours. They're all the same colours, but it works, doesn't it?
Yeah, and they're a tarot size card, and they're just really. And then you've got these ones which are a full set of playing cards.
Very nice. Yeah.
So I'm a real sucker for things like that.
Good.
Of course, if you're not Whovian, then people don't really kind of like, what's that all about?
The problem, that's the thing I found about, us as fans going back years and years and years. We appreciate the art. I mean, I still love, they are lovely because it's art. I would prefer an artist impression, an artist version over a photographic thing, See, we remember when the show came back, they brought back, it tied in with the re-release of Top Trumps coming back as a big thing for the kids. Because we had them when we were kids, and then they were huge. So of course the new Doctor Who took advantage of that, but they were all photographs, whereas my Top Trumps with the Tom Baker days were all artists, art, and they weren't quite the same for me. But that's probably my age as well. But I think it's because. Do you remember those beautiful artworks we had on things like Weetabix and the Typhoo?
Absolutely loved them.
Gorgeous, weren't they?
I've got the Typhoo cards, but I haven't got there's an like a poster thing that they sit on, The
Amazing World,
Yeah. Again, you're talking hundreds,
Yes, you are,
and the Weetabix cards were, I think there was two sets of the Doctor.
Yes, you're right. Yeah.
And of course, on the back of the boxes, you had the backdrops.
Beautiful art.
Yeah, it was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. And I think it was pretty much like that as well with the annuals. Going back to the annuals, the early annuals. Yeah. The work that went into the illustrations and that, and then progressive. So progressively, but it wasn't progressive because it was regressive. Because as time went by, more we went up into the 80s, late 80s, there seemed to be less effort in the, in the graphics, in the artwork. And
I agree.
I know pretty much a lot about that because I'm a fine art painter myself. I've got my own studio, you see. Wonderful. So
tell us a bit about that. How did you get into that then?
Painting, it's always been my first niche since school. I went to art school. Did a degree in art, so obviously there was a creative element there, and that's probably why I was attracted to things, sci-fi, things like that. It all kind of it all meets. It's a natural thing for me. And there's always been that element of me which has kept touch of that, because it keeps you young inside, you know. Not mentioning ages again, but it's always been important for me to, you know, keep in touch with my childhood in some aspects, and Doctor Who is a big part of that for me.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, because it takes you back when you put something like a Pertwee or a Baker or even a Davison to an extent on. It takes you back to when you were young. I mean, I can watch. I'll give you one big example. You know, something like Pyramids of Mars. Yeah, I'm right back there.
Yeah,
you know,
when
I was a kid.
Absolutely, because there's always. I mean, I'm sure this is the same for you and many of Whovians out there. When you when you look at a certain episode, there was always something going on in your life around that episode. Not everyone can do it, but or can recall it. But I can take certain episodes when I can think, oh yeah, that was 77 when the Jubilee, and we had that was on. That episode was on, and we had the Jubilee party on outside. You know, everyone you know remembers the Jubilee parties, of course. If you
I remember them well. They were everywhere, weren't they? Oh
yeah. And 77 was sort of like real classic, bang in the middle, Tom Baker time, wasn't it? It really was, you know. And
the golden age.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean, just how everything kind of fell into place, you know. I mean, what a big act to follow, John Pertwee, you know, what Tom Baker was up against. And he just took it in his own stride, and it was just such a natural changeover, handing the baton over, you know. And it was just so beautifully done, you know. And sadly, those days have gone by, you know. I'm not going to say too much about the current state of affairs.
You can say what you like; it's absolutely fine.
But, no, I mean, where would I go with my favourite adventure? Has to be City of Death.
Oh, really? Why is that?
I think it was kind of like, you know, you got the Doctor, Romana in Paris, the whole thing at Count
Scalioni.
Scalioni.
Yeah, Scalioni.
Yeah. Julian Glover. Last of the Jagaroff. And I just thought it was a breath of fresh air, because it took it down a different avenue at that point, where, you know, you got that feel that they were on holiday, or they were supposed to be going on holiday, you know, to Paris, rather than going on an adventure on another planet. And I don't know, it was just something really different about that particular adventure. And of course, they get caught up in this thing with the Count, and, you know, these counterfeit paintings, the Mona Lisas and so forth, going backwards and forwards through time. Again, it had that kind of classic good versus evil, going back through time to prevent something, and it had it all, you know. And I mean, even down, you know, obviously you had Duggan. Now, I loved that character. I mean, for me, if at the time I would have said, and I'm sure a lot of people, you know, he was funny, the private detective Duggan, you know, and he was always knocking people out, and Tom Baker was like, well, like that. The Doctor was that kind of thing. No, Duggan, you know, it's sort of like, you know, there's this intellectual Time Lord is, oh God, you don't need to use violence, Duggan, you know, that kind of thing. And I thought it was hilarious, absolutely hilarious. And I'm sure there was a lot of people who would have thought, why couldn't Duggan have carried on and come on board TARDIS and been an assistant? Okay, he would have been more of the, you know, Right Turn Clive, that sort of thing. Boom. Looking out a few Cybermen or whatever, you know. But he, you know, he was probably like, I don't know what you would call him really. It was, in the first Doctor Who film, you had Bernard Cribb in. Well, no, sorry, it wasn't Bernard. What I said, but
Roy Castle.
yes, thank you. And so you had a bit of that going on, sort of like, I'm not putting up with this. This is preposterous. Bush, that sort of thing, sort of like Keystone Cops.
That's
kind
probably
of
why they didn't keep him. To be honest, you can't tell that to the children every week.
No, you couldn't. But I mean, looking back, it was pretty. I mean, especially like mid to the end, well, most of Pertwee's stuff was pretty dark when you think about it. When little kids are watching stuff like that, and I guess so was things like Captain Scarlet before that. With Puppet dying, blood and everything.
Yeah.
How did they get away with that? But it was great stuff, of course.
Well, they got away with it because as kids we weren't stupid and we knew it was a puppet.
Yeah. UFO taking
the fantasy side
eyes out of people and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really wished they'd kept Duggan, and he, like Harry. I liked Harry as an.
Harry's wonderful. Do you know? It's we're talking to you now and listening to you. Duggan is a sort of. I mean, Harry was clumsy, but Duggan is way worse. Yeah. He's just ham-fisted blunderer, Duggan, isn't he?
He was all kind of like punch now, think about it later. That kind of thing,
Whereas Harry was the other way. Harry wouldn't have resorted to physical acts unless he really had to, because he was too much of a gent.
Yeah.
Great character, Harry, as well.
Absolutely. And of course, John Cleese, there was a cameo appearance in that.
Oh, you
episode,
like that? Yeah.
Which was, that's John Cleese.
Yeah.
Of course, because again, everyone knew Monty Python at the time on TV, and it was sort of like brought in.
40 Towers.
40 Towers, absolutely, yeah. And of course, the other thing about that episode, it was the most watched episode ever, and it still holds that record.
Yeah.
Obviously, some people say, "Oh, yeah, okay," because there was a 3-day week, there was lights going out, and
and the other channel was off.
that was it. Yeah, that was it. Yeah, 3-day week thing was earlier. The other channel was off on strike, so.
It doesn't matter though, John, does it? Because people still, over 13 million people still chose to sit down and watch Doctor Who that night.
Absolutely. I think that's the other reason why it was remembered. Because and I think it probably would have got a whole new generation of fans on board as well at that point, who probably hadn't thought about watching it before. I can imagine even when COVID was on 5 years ago, people had never watched it before. A new generation started watching it,
Let's hope so.
But not the same. It wasn't the same. I mean, for me, it's far removed from Doctor Who now. But again, that's an opinion. I think it's a big opinion.
Well, we were very lucky as kids though, because we had a magical time. But the Pertwee into Tom Baker years, the whole 1970s. Well, I must be honest. I'm aware now that the adults around us may have been stretching and fretting and having to put up with all sorts of nonsense, just like we do today, with what was going on politically. I just remember as a kid having so much fun. And a nice long hot summer was thrown in there as well in 76. But being fed the adventures of the Doctor every week for a long time, every year. I mean, do you remember the thrill you would get when the BBC would say on those trailers, Doctor Who's coming back in September?
And weren't the trailers great on their own? They were standalone great, that you'd see it. Oh, God, who's this new alien? And
yeah.
The Doctor's wearing something slightly different, and who's that assistant? And a new season on BBC One. A bit like the beginning of what you've got here on Chit Chat. That's the same guy with the same voice and whatever.
Yeah, we pay homage to the BBC titles all the time here. Because they're such a part of all of our childhood. Well, especially British people of a certain age, we like to acknowledge that and just try and bring back that little anticipation, that little bit of magic.
And I can't really get away from Pertwee Baker, because that really, for me, was the ultimate Doctor Who era. I mean, there's a lot of Davison was good. Was good.
Were you in your teenage years when Davison came on board, though?
Yeah. Well, not quite. But yeah. I was just going into my teenage years.
Yeah, same as me. Yeah.
And then kind of like when Colin Baker, and after that, you know, it was just, you were going out with your mates, weren't you? And you know, I think by that point I was going up to the West End and going to science fiction shops like Forbidden Planet and LTS, the London Trading Store, and getting old Jerry Anderson annuals and Doctor Who annuals and the little, you know, dinky toys and all that sort of thing, you know. And it's all fond memories, and like I say, nothing can buy them memories. You've got them forever.
Absolutely.
No one can take away. You haven't got merchandise or not, doesn't matter, you know. You've got the memories.
No, it doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah, I mean, even I was speaking to somebody recently who isn't a major Doctor Who fan, doesn't watch the new stuff because he says it's not the same, which I agree with. But he came out with this lovely magical thing. Said, but you know what? I do remember those Weetabix cutouts. And I was like, yeah, you are remembering correctly. They were there, because he wasn't sure. Yeah.
And I think it was mentioned in one of your Who's Who series briefly back. I don't know when I saw it, but you probably recall it, where you were talking about exhibitions and conventions.
Oh yes, yeah, that's
and Longley was mentioned. Longley came up, which I'm sure a lot of people got to go to, including myself. Longley, and what a buzz back then to go to them sort of places. And I mean, when you think back, really, they were pretty rubbish, weren't they? Sort of like,
no, they were brilliant. They were absolutely ahead of their time. But I was saying this recently about the
back then, kind of. But when you look at the pictures now,
I love it.
And you look back, I mean,
no, I think now they're still ahead of their time, John, because you look at them now and they actually put thought into these things, because they put them on sets, they lit them in a spooky manner with red and green lighting. They had sound effects around them.
Yeah.
Today you go to these things, and for me, they're not as magical because it's basically a mausoleum. They put the thing, there's the costume, don't touch it on it there, but they leave it out of glass, but there's no lighting to it. There's no real imagination. I mean, they tried in the museum in Cardiff, but it wasn't the same because it was a warehouse. You know, it just wasn't the same.
There was a good one, which I did mention in the text as a follow-on to Longley, but it only lasted for about a year and a half. And it was in London. It was the Palladium Theatre, and it was called Palladium Cellars. And it was next door to the Palladium Theatre, and they had it was about 1980-81, and I've still got the brochure upstairs somewhere. And it was, oh God, it was what was the adventure where, and I'm terrible like that because I only remember certain episode titles. You know, I've seen them all. I still watch them on the iPlayer. You know, and like a lot of you guys out there, you've got discs.
Yeah.
But on the Palladium Cellars one, you know, it had Daleks and Cybermen, but it had Tom Baker. What was the one where he was kind of becoming like a cactus?
Meglos.
That's the one. Yes.
Now, I
think it might have been a bit later than 80.
Are you sure, John, you're not getting this mixed up with Madame Tussauds?
No, because the Palladium Cellars was an offshoot of the actual waxworks were made by Tussauds. And I think it might have been a thing at the time where they simply didn't have enough room, so they'd set up this Palladium Cellars thing. I wish I had the brochure here to show you now, but
don't worry.
It all down.
Because I went to that Madame Tussauds. We had to queue for ages to get into Madame Tussauds. I remember my mum and dad being very patient. And there was me, my mum and dad, and my sister. 1981 it was. We had to queue for ages to get to Madame Tussauds, and I wasn't interested in anything except getting to the Doctor Who bit. So I don't remember anything. I don't remember the royal family. I don't remember Elvis. I don't remember anything at all because I'm focused on where's Tom Baker. And the thrill I got, John, when I saw him, because he was on this sort of step thing that near a police box frontage, and then you had to go through another element, and then you were in the Doctor Who world with you know, the Sontaran and the Dalek and Meglos, and Romana was in there as well. Lalla Ward was in there too. But when I saw that, and you had to still queue at this point to get to the Doctor Who bit, it was so popular. You had to be in a queue.
Yeah.
And it was, oh gosh, it was amazing.
Oh, it was just the golden age, wasn't it? You know, from Pertwee over to Tom Baker was the gold. It really was the golden age of Doctor Who. You know, and for me, you know, the Sontarans were key to that. And again, that I think they were a particular alien foe that obviously Pertwee and Baker could share in, you know, because I don't think Baker ever he never faced the Cybermen, did he?
Tom, yeah, he did in his first season, Revenge of the Cybermen.
Oh, sorry, what was the aliens that he never ever met?
Well, there were loads, really, when it comes to, I mean, because the beauty of the 70s was it always looked forward, didn't it? It didn't rely on old monsters coming back as much as it did, I would say, in the reboot. It was always bringing in new monsters to push it forward. And I keep saying this to people that weren't there. That was the beauty of it. Every 4 weeks, usually, sometimes 6, you would get a whole story with brand new characters, brand new monsters. Yeah. You know, I used to love that as a little boy. And I mean, the Daleks only appeared twice in Tom's 7-year run. Twice. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So
I'm just trying to think. I read there was particular alien that was quite a classic foe that you never ever met. There's a question.
Well, he met the Daleks, the Cybermen, the Sontarans. So you've got the big 3. He met the Master.
Cool, really, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, Genesis of the Daleks has to be a real favourite of mine as well. I mean, the introduction of Davros, and you know, was it Michael
Wisher,
and some people always think Terry Malloy, don't they? But
it
wasn't.
It was Michael first. Terry came much later.
Yeah.
Much later. Yeah. But again, there's an example of the 70s era creating a new character that became an important and beloved legacy character, which they brought back years later, a couple of decades later, for the reboot, and then went on to proceed to absolutely ruin him.
Made a pig's ear of it, like a lot of the stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it's a classic Frankenstein story, isn't it? You know, someone comes along, we all know who it is. he takes RTD, he takes you know, what we were crying out for it to be brought back. He brought it back. Everything looked so promising, you know. There was always going to be the odd little things you didn't like about it, you know, but it was doing so well. And then what happened? You know, it was like Frankenstein turns on his creation and makes a pig's ear of it and tears it apart. And, you know, I get up to a certain point, you know, there was influences throughout each era. What was going on in the world would directly influence the series, in a sense. Like, you know, in the 60s, you had the swinging 60s thing, you know, in the Hartnell Trout, and, you know, they'd wear mini skirts, the girls, and the guys had Beatle haircuts and all that sort of thing, you know. But that wasn't political, of course. That was fashion. You know? That was the image, as it were, you know. And of course, then you had sort of like the 80s, for an example, where there were Tigan and people like that had the box shoulders sort of thing that you'd see in Dallas or Knots Landing or whatever, you know, the festivals like that. But then bringing back Doctor Who in the early 2000s, and where we've got to, you know, up towards 2016, 2017, and then, you know, it started to be undermined by all the politics and stuff, and trying to please this group or that group, and you know, it's got nothing to do with any group. It sits on its own. You know, it's a national treasure, if you like, that shouldn't have been played with. There's a word. Shouldn't have been played with. You know, it should have been left alone. But why did I have to bring all these things into play that affect it? And of course, the worst thing of all was messing around with the canon. I mean, that's just, you know, sacrilege. Why do that? Why do that? You know, leave it alone. You've got a working formula. You know, you tearing it up and playing around with it and twisting it, and you know the whole thing with, like, for example, I'll give you the brain of Morbius. You know, where the producers and people on set, I think it was an in-joke at the time. You might know the inside story better than I.
It was,
where you had the Time Lord challenge with Morbius and the Fourth Doctor. You've got the different faces flashing up, you know, and then you've got these people we don't even know. And of course, there were some of the producers and people who worked behind the cameramen and things like that, you know. And then all of a sudden, it's like, oh, you see, they jump into conclusions. So, oh, that was previous incarnations of the Doctor. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Read your stuff. It wasn't. You know. It's just so.
That's something that I was so disappointed when that conversation reared its head again, because I thought we got rid of it in the 90s. Because I remember having these discussions and heated debates about the Morbius scene in the 90s in the pub. And there'd be more of us saying to people, of course it wasn't the Doctor, it was a wrestling game, and the Morbius faces, and the reasons Morbius wins is because he's had more lives, because he used up all his allocated regenerations, whereas the Doctor was only on his fourth body and had no chance with 13. You know, 13 of them against 4 of him. He had no chance, and he was very lucky to get out of it alive, really. But to say, oh, look, that's the Doctor as well, it takes away from the whole dramatic element of that story and the fact that the Doctor lost the game. Our hero lost and was practically destroyed by this more experienced Time Lord with 13 lives. It's just, I mean, I was so upset, John, when this came up again, and Chibnall deliberately reintroduced it because he was one of the minority back in the 90s that went, oh, no, that's the Doctor. Oh, shut up.
But it's common sense that this was like a legendary Time Lord who, you know, turned bad, renegade.
Powerful as well.
Powerful. And, you know, and everyone knew the Doctor only at that point, only 4 lives.
Yeah, it was just a kid.
4 lives. And still has 4 lives. He was never anything else before Hartnell. He was Hartnell. Yeah. And that was it.
Yeah.
You know, and for whatever reason, just to tick boxes again, you know, these episodes were hijacked by, you know, a liberal contingent who just messed around with the canon, and it makes me mad, and all the other 8.5 million other Whovians who have since boycotted this, you know, what I call circus. Just a circus.
Well, that's a good word to use, isn't it? Because it's a very disorganized circus as well, isn't it? And we're seeing that now. We don't even have a Doctor right now. There's no one in the role as the Doctor, which no one seems to be talking about. There's no Doctor Who in Doctor Who at the moment. How can you have a show called Doctor Who where your lead character isn't even there?
Yeah,
sad times.
I mean, I haven't watched since Capaldi says I let you
Goodbye.
go.
Yeah.
Goodbye. You know, that's it. And that for me is when there became a kind of alternate dimension.
Oh, fair
And
enough. Yeah.
that's the only way I can kind of get my head around it. You know,
Yeah. Well, you're not alone. I know that from our
the whole
mailbag.
Dallas thing, Bobby waking
Yes.
in the shower. You know,
Well, I know that from our Who's viewers as well. You're not alone with that. A lot of other people have decided that from that regeneration onwards, it can split off, and a lot of our viewers believe that the what's the name, Whittaker and Gower era is a completely different character in an alternative universe, whereas our Doctor is still regenerating from Capaldi into whomever. But this is science fiction, and if any brave, ballsy producer came along and said, I'm going to wipe off the Whittaker Gatwa era because it was just absolutely nonsense, you could. And you would only upset that many people.
Yeah, but he's basically divorced a large majority of he has divorced a large majority of long-term Whovians and Whovians later on who just don't want to know because, it's crap. It's absolute crap. And there's people who are going to watch this and think, oh, no, it isn't, that have bought into that indoctrination. But I don't care. It is what it is. Before it was about science fiction, it was exciting, it was mysterious. We didn't know what was coming around the corner, probably because back then, okay, I give way to the president that back then you never had backstory, like stuff on the internet and that where you could find out what was coming and rumors about this and that. So it was kept, the secret was kept more, but all the same, it's just not the same. It's like I say, I haven't really watched any of it, and I won't do. And I think the only good thing is that where RTD done this thing where the Doctor splits in half, whatever they want to call it,
by generation.
Yeah. That could be used and turned on itself in that could be used as a way of getting around an alternate universe story.
It's just nonsense.
Later on, but it's rubbish. It's
well, it's caused so many problems, that whole thing as well, because everybody says when something goes wrong, like that whole, you wouldn't have seen the spin-off, The War Between the Land and the Sea, that we reviewed, but we were all thinking, and I'm talking not just the panel, I'm talking our viewers as well here on Who's Views. Where's the Tenant Doctor? Because he's living down the road, so why isn't he doing something? Why isn't he helping UNIT? Why hasn't he come along to say, I know these creatures, I'll speak to them? Now he just decides to sit and have a pina colada or something in his garden in Chiswick. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Nonsense.
Yeah.
Absolute nonsense. When you need to have your Doctor Who fix, John, do you go to Pertwee or do you go to Baker first?
Good question. I guess I try to do it, in a continued order. I love Hartnell and Troughton, of course. It goes without saying. But I'll probably start with the latter Troughton stuff.
Oh, right, okay.
Into Pertwee. And
is there a particular story you'll go to, though?
All the way through Baker. But for me, probably was like, late Pertwee to mid Baker.
So is there a particular story, though, that you'll go to if you need something? If you need a pickup?
For me, as I've already mentioned, City of Death, Genesis of the Daleks, Brain and Morbius, them ones mainly. I like Deadly Assassin because it told you more, opened up a little bit about the Doctor's background a bit more, and about the Master.
Do you remember seeing that when it was first broadcast?
Yeah. And I'll never forget the final episode where there's a kind of earthquake and the ground's coming up and you see the Master's hand like that go down underneath. It reminded me a little bit of at the time of course, around that time you had the Superman movies, you know, where you had Fortress of Solitude, you know, we had all these ice bits coming up. And,
coming through.
Kind of like true comparisons with that.
Oh, interesting.
And you know, and then of course, as per usual, the master escapes and gets away with that ha, 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 ha at the end, you know, kind of thing, you know. But, but you know, when you had all the Time Lords talking, when I can't remember what the process name was, when you know, when the doctor laid down and we went into this
the Matrix
sort of thing, yeah.
No, the Matrix, yeah.
And you'd have these Time Lords talking a little bit about the Doctor, only little snippets, giving you a little bit about his background, you know, because of course up to that point he was still a big mystery, you know, and a little bit about the Master as well, you know. So that for me, Deadly Assassin, for that reason, was important. You know,
of course,
because it gave a little bit away, which we'd not really seen much before. I know there was a little bit of brief stuff mentioned in, I can't remember what Pertwee episode it was, where he talks fondly in a strange kind of way about the Master, where I think he was imprisoned with Joe.
Yeah, I think it's probably Frontier in Space.
And there's almost an affection towards the Master, as if to say we were at the academy together or something like that, you know. And of course, which they pick up on later on.
It's nice. I remember being with the Deadly Assassin, though. I remember when I watch it to this day, it's one of these stories, John, that was mentioned that will take me back to how I felt at the time as a 6-year-old. And very much so, the Deadly Assassin is one of those. Because I remember as a 6-year-old being healthily terrified. You know, here we were on the Doctor's home planet. It was dark. It was mysterious. As a little boy, you'll remember, a little boy, it looked brilliant. You know, it looked really alien and it looked really, you know, mystical in a sense. And then you've got this really strange version of, and I don't remember the Delgado Master really at all. I'm too young, so I don't really remember. But this version, this crippled version of the Master, terrified me with those googly ping pong ball eyes. It was absolutely awful, you know. Absolutely. That's why John Nathan Turner, I don't know if you know John Nathan Turner, when he reused the character years later in The Keeper of Traken, or a couple of years later, he used the same costume, obviously, but he said no, the makeup must remove the ping pong ball eyes because he thought they were too terrifying for children, and they were. Scared the hell out of me as a kid.
Reminded me of when around that time as well. I think do you remember the Kung Fu, the TV series Kung Fu with David Carradine?
No, I don't. Not my thing. Not my, no monsters in it.
He had a master called Grasshopper who was completely blind, you know. And I remember the comedian Freddie Starr doing a send up of it with and he used ping pong ball.
Oh, right, yeah.
Just thought I'd put that bit in.
Yeah.
But you know,
no, if there's no monsters in it back then, John, I wouldn't have watched it.
Terror of the Saigons, loved that. You know,
great story.
The whole thing about you were watching. Is that the real person there? You know, is that the real Harry? You know, And of course, it wasn't, because it had to be that it wasn't. You know, because that was. But you just wasn't sure, you know, each character if they were an imposter or not, you know.
Yeah, it was just part of bringing you into the story, wasn't it? As well, you got excited.
Yeah, I mean, all them stories, they just had a magic about them that the writers were so great back then, because they'd draw you in.
Yeah,
That was all gone. I mean, even the early RTD stuff, RTD1 as we call it, didn't have that kind of magic to draw you in. You watched it, but you were outside the fourth wall, whatever you want to call it. You just watched it on the screen. Whereas in the early episodes, you got drawn in.
You got drawn
in. Shadow of that. You got drawn in, you know. So yeah, I mean, Time Warrior with Lynx, Day of the Daleks, which I really liked. And the later stuff, I'd have to. I really liked the character Lytton.
Oh, you like Lytton?
I like Lytton.
What was it about Lytton?
Again, you know, of course, he was a renegade. He was a mercenary, and it's that kind of thing of someone who does something for money or reward, a bit like the old spaghetti westerns. You know, he was like a Lee Van Cleef, if you like, you know, for a price. And yet, at the end, he kind of tries to redeem himself, because we see the adventure with the Daleks, and then we see Attack of the Cybermen, where it's set in London with the police. You know, and that was so dark. You remember when they grabbed his hands and crushed his hands?
Yeah, very well.
You know? And he goes back onto the good side in the end. He's trying to redeem himself. You know, it's just a standout adventure for me. I mean, people go for more the typical kind of stuff, but listen, that character, for different reasons, from Duggan, of course. Duggan was a satirical comedy kind of character, but I liked that character a lot, because it was offering something different again, you know.
Very much so. We hadn't seen anybody quite like Lytton before, had we? Before the Resurrection of the Daleks, he was a bit of a it's looking at him. He's quite a clever character, because you don't trust him, and you don't blame the Doctor for when he meets him again in the Cybermen, Attack of the Cybermen. You don't blame him for not trusting him because of what he's been through, because you can't trust Lytton.
No, because he'll
turn on anyone for his own use.
He's a rogue and he's mercenary. And in the end, he actually shows himself to be that little bit of light, little bit of good comes through. You know,
it's a great character for Doctor Who.
It was a great character, and of course the actor, what's his name? He was in the Gangsters TV series. I can't remember his name now.
Maurice Colburn.
That's it. Yeah,
I think it was.
Great actor. Really, really. And the casting back then. Fantastic casting.
Oh, you think?
You know? Yeah. And that's another thing now that's gone to the wall. I haven't watched any of this stuff since, like I say, since Capaldi. But when it does flash up on the TV, a load of crap. Look at that. You know, the casting is.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, I mean, I've said it before. It's sad, really, because it's as though these days they don't really care. You know, and there's no love or attention or put into the show, because the casting for everything. I'm not just talking about the role of the Doctor, which has now, in my opinion, been miscast twice. But it's a shame that even the supporting actors, not necessarily. Yeah.
I mean, I've termed it. I've written a lot about it, and I always use the term pantomime parody, because that's
what it is. Okay, yeah,
it is. It's a pantomime parody of the original Doctor Who. It's nothing else but a pantomime parody. You know, apart from the fact that it's got more money to give great special effects and that. That's what
not anymore.
You know, if I was RTD, why couldn't he have gone out and got Richard Iodi, for example, from the IT crowd?
Right.
I think he would have made, because he's eccentric, he's funny, he's witty. He's got all them elements that you could draw upon from the Doctor's character. But he would have been fantastic casting as the Doctor. But no, it didn't. You know, again, it's all completely miscast.
Well, we'll have to see where it goes, because on our channel, of course, we've accused the people that are in charge of our beloved show of DEI tick box casting, and I will stand by that, because it's pretty obvious. It's all about the virtue signaling. Let's tick the box. We'll see if anything's changing in the future when we know exactly what's going to happen with Doctor Who, because it's I've said before, the BBC studios are desperate to keep the thing going in one form or another, because they think it makes them money. It looks like the Christmas 2026 episode is going to be fully funded by BBC Studios, so it'll be on a much reduced budget, but there's no Doctor for it. And if they do bring it back for a series in the next couple of years, that's when we'll know, because we'll be able to see where the casting, will they stick with the DEI casting nonsense, or will they actually try and find an actor to play the Doctor?
I've got a feeling, Justin, that he might take a few steps back, because I think he might be a little bit wary now of what's happening.
I agree.
I think he might even do the usual thing and bring back Tennant even.
Yeah, we're laughing at that on
reel
yeah.
in a few of the older,
Yeah.
you know.
We laugh at that on Whose Views. You know, the panel, we laugh at that because we always say, oh, he's going to bring back Tennant. He's going to bring back Tennant because he's got nothing else to do. And even, you know, if we hear, you know, these rumors, which are possibly very likely, that he's finishing at Christmas and he's moving on and that somebody else is going to come in after him. And as we're recording in February 2026, it's very likely we know who that person's going to be. You know, it's a case of like, you know, will they continue with the focus that they've had before? And, you know, they have no doctor for this Christmas one. Will RTD be involved in a recasting, or will they leave it over to his successor to cast? In which case, what happened? Oh, goodness me. It's a mess. They've gotten, and do you know what? I've got no sympathy for them, John.
I agree. I mean, just putting his name that he's involved, you know, it's going to be crap. You know,
yeah.
Just straight away when they said, "Oh, he's going to be involved again," I just thought, well, that's it. The same now. I'm hearing about Blake Seven. It's just going to be crap. The only thing you're going to draw upon is that they'll use the original Liberator, and that'll be it. You know.
Yeah, that's another worry, isn't it, really? I mean, it's the same for all of us. It's because of what we've been through, isn't it? As science fiction fans over the last, 15 years, maybe nearly 20, we've just had this nonsense brought in deliberately into our shows and into our fan circles because they thought we needed it. They thought we needed all this nonsense. And we didn't, because we were happy as it was. We were as welcoming as possible. I mean, it's such a shame where we've
science fiction is an escapism from the real world of politics. You don't want to go into the science fiction world and have it follow you.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
yeah.
I mean, they're doing it with, like you said, they've done it with Star Wars. They ruined that. Kathleen Kennedy. You know, they've done it now with Star Trek. The latest Academy thing is an absolute joke. Yeah, you know, it's all going to crash.
It's not fun.
Crash, you know, come crashing around their ears, and the money that's being whittled away, pissed away, you know, wasted, you know, on rubbish like that, when they could make good story. You know, I mean, all them writers that RTD introduced, just politics. People don't want that. They want science fiction. They want aliens. They want
entertainment,
galaxies, adventures, excitement. You know, it's an escapism. They don't want all that. They just don't get it, you know? They just don't get it.
No. And they love doubling down, aren't they? Say, you will like this. You will agree with this. You will watch this. You will appreciate it. And we're turning around and they're not listening to that fact that millions of us are going, no, we don't want this. We don't.
Hence 10.98 million down to 1.92 million, you know?
Sad times. Yeah. Oh, listen, John, it's lovely to see you. We've come to the end of our time on this chit chat, but it's lovely. No, it's lovely to see you. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing your wonderful memories and taking me down the memory lane as well. And thank you for showing us some of your favorite bits of merchandise. I love that. It's always nice to see what other fans are collecting, if anything, honestly, because I don't think many people collect anything these days. I know I don't collect that much anymore. But no, I really appreciate
room for it as well.
Well, yeah. It's weird, isn't it? Because I'd rather now look at the stuff from the 60s and 70s and spend a couple of $100 on something decent rather than anything from the new nonsense. I wouldn't, not interested in that.
Well, these are great. I mean, they were only a tenner.
Nice. Yeah, it's nice.
They're so well made. They're not official, but you know, even you look at some of the official stuff, it's crap.
Yeah, well, it is.
Even in that, they're trying to bring politics into the items. You know.
Yeah, it's another reason not to buy it, isn't it? But I am still on the hunt. If you ever see it, John, for a Dennis Fisher Cyberman and Dalek. Okay, that's the one. They're the two. They're my.
I'll let you know, Justin. I'll let you know.
They're my holy grails. Listen, it was brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you to you guys for watching and supporting the channel and the show, of course. Give us a thumbs up. And if you're interested in coming on board for a chit chat with myself, then please email me at whosviews1@gmail.com, just like he did. And you might find yourself sitting where he is. Well, not exactly there, because that's his front room, but you could be there on that particular slide there. Listen, see you again, John. Thank you so much for supporting the channel and for being part of our shows in the chat. I really appreciate it.
You run a great ship there. You run a great ship, mate, and I love watching your shows every week.
Thank you so much, and thank you for being there.
you.
So listen, from John and myself, don't forget to subscribe. If you've already subscribed to the channel, please make sure you are still subscribed to our channel. But from John and myself, have a good day. Look after yourselves. We'll see you again. Ta-ra, everyone.
Bye-bye.